My mother spent 12 years calling me a teen welfare mom until I performed her emergency brain surgery. 12 years after getting pregnant at 16, I brought my daughter to our annual family reunion at the country club. My mother intercepted me at the entrance with her latest collection of GED pamphlets while relatives whispered about the girl who'd ruined her life with a teen pregnancy. She announced loud enough for everyone to hear that teen mothers never amount to anything, completely unaware that I'd become head of neurosurgery 6 months ago. My mother cornered me by the shrimp tower, speaking extra slowly and explaining that pregnancy hormones at such a young age probably damaged my cognitive development permanently. She brought community college brochures with pictures because studies showed teen mothers struggled with traditional text-based learning after their brains got flooded with hormones. I tried to mention I was actually working in healthcare, but she cut me off and demonstrated turning pages with exaggerated movements, asking if I knew how to read left to right. My chest burned with words I couldn't say because defending myself would mean nothing without proof. During appetizers, my mother stood on her chair and clinked her glass for attention. "I'm starting a collection to help my daughter finally get off welfare," she announced while I sat frozen at my table. The collection plate made its way around the room as relatives dropped in 20s and pitied looks. I reached for my purse to contribute, trying to show I didn't need their charity, but she grabbed my wrist so hard it left marks, declaring that pride was what kept poor people poor. My sister tried to intervene with a quiet, "Mom, leave her alone," but our mother just laughed and kept counting the bills aloud, explaining this would buy me work clothes for McDonald's interviews since even fast food places had standards now. Before the main course, my mother orchestrated what she called a generational education photo that made my skin crawl. She forced me to stand between my successful pharmaceutical rep cousin and herself, actually pulling out a tape measure to document how success makes you stand taller. The metal tape felt cold against my spine as she measured each of our heights, explaining that teen pregnancy stunts more than just career growth. She pointed out my slouched shoulders compared to their straight spines, proof that shame physically weighs you down, while the camera flash left spots in my vision. My throat constricted watching other relatives nod along, and I tasted bile knowing that without my hidden career, these moments would define my daughter's view of me forever. During dinner, my mother created what she called an alternate future table for my daughter, physically lifting her from her chair beside me despite her protests. She spread college brochures across the children's placemats, while my daughter pushed her grandmother's business card back saying I helped her with homework every night. My mother patted her head and said loud enough for every child to hear, "It's not your fault your mom chose spreading her legs over opening textbooks." I watched my daughter's shoulders slump as other kids started looking at her differently, and I tasted blood from biting through my tongue. The violation turned physical when my mother announced I must be hiding substances since all teen mothers ended up addicts eventually. She dumped my purse onto the white tablecloth, my hospital ID clattering among tampons and loose change while she held it up to the light like evidence. The room fell silent except for her laughter as she declared whoever made this fake should be arrested for fraud because janitors don't need medical credentials. I felt each torn piece hit my face like tiny slaps as she threw them at me, confetti from my shredded identity sticking to my hair while she explained that impersonating a doctor was a felony, my fingernails cut into my palms drawing blood as relatives actually applauded her vigilance in exposing a fraud. The final boundary shattered when my mother pulled out her phone and dialed CPS on speaker, her eyes locked on mine as she calmly reported an unfit mother at this address. She described finding drug paraphernalia in my purse while my daughter sat frozen at the children's table, then suggested she looked malnourished and mentioned behavioral problems that indicated abuse. The speakerphone echoed through the country club as she gave the address twice, slowly and clearly, before finishing, "This is what happens when we let children raise children." She hung up with a satisfied smile, turning to address the room about the importance of intervention, when suddenly her face changed. The smile twisted into confusion as she pressed her palm against her temple, swaying slightly before clutching her head with both hands and collapsing, the phone clattering across marble as her body convulsed. I dropped beside her, checking her pupils while everyone screamed, "Call 911 for suspected aneurysm and tell them the head of neurosurgery needs an OR prepped immediately." Every face in the room turned from me to the torn pieces of my hospital ID scattered on the floor. My mother survived 8 hours of surgery performed by these janitor hands. She woke to find me reading her charts and scrubs, her eyes widening as I explained her subdural hematoma using the medical terminology she'd mocked. The relatives who donated to my welfare fund now couldn't meet my eyes in the hallway. 6 months later at Christmas, my mother serves me first at every meal and still can't look at me directly. My grandmother introduces me as the doctor who saved my mother's life.